So I didn't bring any of my books because I haven't published any yet, maybe. I brought some books that have to do with degrowth. One is the book by Serge Latouche, another one by Carlos Taibo that doesn't deal exactly with degrowth, but Carlos Taibo is also a degrowth defender, but he's talking about the collapse of society. And one of the authors that is an inspiration for the degrowth movement, Ivan Illich, one of the books that has quite a few of his texts translated in Portuguese. And these are two leaflets from the Oslo Triennale Architecture that happened last year, dedicated to degrowth. So architects are also thinking about degrowth. So degrowth is not only an issue about economy, it's about the whole society. So we've been hearing a lot about the state of the environment, and I don't have to maybe say a lot about this because the international scientific community, so this is not a matter of opinion, so this is an issue that has been brought to us by the scientists for many years now, and also by many other people who have been thinking about these issues. I'm just quoting here a few recent reports. One is actually a paper by a group of scientists that is called the World Scientist Warning to Humanity that was published in 2017. Of course, the IPCC reports, the United Nations panel on climate change, and the also United Nations panel on biodiversity and ecosystems. The messages are very clear. The imperiled biosphere, destructive climate impacts, global collapse of biodiversity and ecosystems. So the words are very clear, they're very strong, and that means that we do have to do something about it. And the other message that is maybe not so clear, but it's also mentioned here, has to do with the connection between the environmental collapse and the economic system based on growth. So this is one of the central issues of the degrowth movement, but also, of course, as we've been listening yesterday and today, it's also an issue of other movements as well. But it's not only the scientific community that has been telling us about the dire situation of our environment, it's also the civil society. We've had here Katja earlier on speaking about the youth climate movements, and of course the message is also very clear. Unfortunately, it appears that the adults and leaders are not really listening, and that is a message that I also convey to you. Are we really listening to what our the youngest part of our community is telling us? But of course, we also know, we've also been mentioned before, the various activist movements that have been also fighting for the bringing the climate and environmental issues into the political agenda. Of course, there have been some initiatives that somehow want to tackle with this issue, declarations of climate emergency from different cities and regions and even some countries, although of course declarations are good intentions, but they have to be transposed into policies. And one of my main messages here is that, as also Roar has told this morning, and Elena also earlier on, the root cause of the environmental collapse is an economic system based on flawed premises. So it's not only a crisis, a market failure, it's also a theory failure and a failure to really listen to the collective knowledge that has been gathered by humanity. And I'm talking about, of course, the knowledge from biology and ecology, but not only that. So there is a disconnect between political action and policy decisions and the knowledge that we have on ecology and biology. I mean, this cartoon, probably people know this cartoon from a quote from a well-known economist, but this is actually an interesting quote. Okay, as you probably realized, I'm not an economist. And I don't want to give a bad name to economy. I'm just saying that economy is being misguided because it's not using the knowledge that we have to do what it should be doing best, which is to give us clues on how to decide on our collective future. So, as you've probably heard already, that quote, the first quote, is from David Suzuki, and of course that image and the message there says it all. There is no economy on a dead planet. So a living economy is what we need, and we're part of nature, so that economy has to contemplate not only our own lives, but the lives of the other living organisms that share the planet with us. So, just a very small detail about the words economy and ecology. Of course, they do have a common origin in the Greek word oikos, that means home. But the thing is that this conventional economics that is based on the neoclassical economics of the mid-20th century, it should be actually called chrematistics, which is another word that comes from the Greeks, and it has to do with a type of economic system that its main goal is to accumulate wealth and capital. And that's the mainstream economics that we have. But we could have a different economy if we wanted to. An economy which we would call an ecological economy, although I think that it is unnecessary redundance to call economics ecological, because economy should already be ecological. And unfortunately, it is not. At least the one that is leading to the current policy decisions. Either we will establish ecological society, or society will go under for everyone, irrespective of his or her status. So the revolution that is necessary, because we are talking about the revolution. The word has been used before, and I also use it here, but this revolution has to occur at different levels of society: cultural, ethical, and political. And this can be done by local and bioregional ecosystems. We've heard about also bioregion thinking. This is a key issue also for the degrowth movement. So we already have skills, practices, and worldviews as well. We have to use them. These diversities that we have to grab it and really use it in our favor, and bring together people from different walks of society. Scholars, scientists, artists. We've talked so little about art, and art is also a key to our well-being. And artists are necessary to bring in to the systems change. Otherwise, so we have to be inclusive about this systemic change that we really want. So we really need to bring together people from very different walks of life. And of course, link with what already exists in our territories. That word is also a very important word for the degrowth movement. Rely on diversity and also self-organization. This is something also key. We should not expect to have a global leader that is going to give us the solutions. We have to get everyone involved in this process, or it won't happen. There won't be leaders. We need some leaders, of course, visionary leaders, but they are not the ones. We are the ones that will make the difference, or difference won't happen.